as long as they have not parted, or until they part. If both parties told the truth and described the defects and qualities of the goods, then they would be blessed in their transaction. But if they told lies or hid something, then the blessing of the transaction would be lost. To further emphasize the principle of honesty in business transactions, Allah revealed a verse in the Quran condemning the false use of oaths in business transactions. Abdullah ibn Awfa, or Ibn Abi Awfa, said, a man displayed some goods in the market and swore by Allah that he had been offered a price for it which was not offered in order to cheat one of the Muslims. It was on that occasion that the following verse was revealed. Indeed, those who sell the faith, they owe to Allah, and their own solemn oath for a small price will have no portion in the hereafter. This is verse 77 of Ali Imran. It was common then, and it is common now, that people in the course of selling, will swear by Allah. Telling you, I find this in almost all the stores where there is some bartering taking place. You go to buy this good, tomatoes or whatever, and the price they offer you, 10 riyals or 5 riyals a kilo, and you say, no, 4 riyals. And the person tells you, I am only by Allah, I only bought it for 4.5 riyals. I'm only making half a riyal on this kilo. And they're lying through their teeth. No, they really only bought it for 2 riyals. But they're swearing by Allah, they only bought it for 4.5 riyals. So, they have to charge you this half riyal. You have to feel sorry for them. Give them the 5 riyals. You see, this method or this expression in sale has been condemned by Allah. And Allah says that they will have no portion in the hereafter. Such who deal and treat their fellow Muslims and people in society in this fashion will be destined to hell. It doesn't mean that this act alone will carry one to hell, but that if this becomes one's way of life, because this expression in the market ends up being expressed in your other dealings, with your family, with your friends, etc. It doesn't stop there. You're not a liar in the market and you're an honest person outside the market. No. If this becomes your habit, you're lying all the time for sale of your goods, then when you're dealing with people outside of the market, you're going to be doing the same. And the Prophet Muhammad had said that, one who becomes a perpetual liar will go to hell. So we have been discouraged from even using any kind of oaths in sales. It's not forbidden. We may do so, but one has to be certain that when one swears by Allah that what one is telling is the truth. And we know it is so easy for us to swear by Allah and be lying. This is why we're advised best not to use oaths when selling. Prophet Muhammad had said, the swearing by the seller may persuade the buyer to purchase the goods, but that will deprive the sale of Allah's blessing. Because this is why people swear, to convince that person that this is really what they're saying. But in doing so, they deprive the sale of Allah's blessing. The sale of things which are of themselves prohibited is also prohibited in Islam. For example, we know that pictures are prohibited. Pictures of living beings, paintings, drawings, carvings of living beings, human beings or animals, is prohibited in Islam. So one in a store cannot sell these objects. Because one doesn't take it into their home and keep it, it doesn't mean that they may sell it. If a person accepts Islam, for example, and they had some figures which are out of gold, but they were figures of human beings or animals, etc., then what they may do is just melt it down and sell the gold and get the value of the gold. But to sell the item, which becomes a form, like an idol, becomes in that same kind of category. To sell such a thing is prohibited. Similarly, for example, we talked before in earlier sessions about music. If one comes to the realization that the music which is out there on the market, which we may have been collecting, etc., is prohibited, then when one realizes that, one may not take up one's record collection now and go and sell it, saying, okay, I want to get rid of this, I don't want to deal with music anymore, so they go and sell it to somebody else. No. Or if one had musical instruments, piano or guitar or something like this, and one finds out, after reading Sahih Bukhari, where the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ prohibited such musical instruments, one comes to that realization, it's not allowed now for us to take that instrument and sell it. No. This is a prohibited instrument. So, we have to be aware that what is being sold, cannot be of a prohibited nature. This is one of the things, for example, or pitfalls that many Muslims fall into when they go to the West. You will find many who have gone to the West who have been involved in businesses. A person opens a restaurant. Now, for him to be able to have a successful restaurant on the standard of the other restaurants which are there, he must get a liquor license. He has to get a license to sell alcohol. So, he does that. If he opens a grocery store, he must be selling along with it some beer or pork and its products. So you'll go to America and you'll find many Muslims from this part of the world who are over there doing business, and they are selling prohibited things. They may not be taking them themselves, but they're selling it. And in doing so, they have sold their faith for the material world. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, according to Jabir ibn Abdullah, he had stated that in the year of the conquest of Mecca, he heard Allah's messenger say, Allah and His messenger has made illegal the sale of alcohol, dead animals, pigs, and idols. Dead animals meaning animals which die of themselves, what is known in Arabic as mayta. An animal which dies of itself, or is slaughtered in one of the prohibited ways, by strangulation, for example, or by clubbing it over the head. These type of animals are prohibited for us to eat. And it is also prohibited for us to sell such animals. The people asked, what about the fat of dead animals? For it is used in greasing boats and hides, and people use it for their lanterns, to make oil for their lanterns. He replied, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ replied, no, it is illegal. May Allah curse the Jews, because Allah forbade them from eating fat, so they melted it, sold it, and devoured its price. Abu Mas'ud al-Ansari also reported that Allah's Messenger forbade taking the price of a dog, the earnings of a prostitute, and that of a fortune teller. So what we see from these principles, it's been quite clearly stated. I mean, this is not something which has been deduced, where there could be differences of opinion. It is prohibited for us to deal in business which involves prohibited things. The question was raised to me when I was in Philippines, whether it is allowed for Muslims to sell cigarettes. Because in the southern Philippines, Muslims